I think that people gravitate towards me because I'm so transparent and I'm so real, and I think I'm probably just like a refreshing, I don't know, like an influencer or a CEO or a boss or whatever you want to call me. I think it's just refreshing. It's from a real place. Like, I don't really do the fake Instagram shit. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's nothing cap about my life. My life is no rap cap. So I think that's what it is. I think that I say the shit that people want to say. I say what you're thinking, you know what I mean? If I feel a type of way, I'm going to express it. And I just think, like, I know you don't get that, you know? So, like, I think with me, it's just like, people like, wow, she's so real, let me tune in. It's just captivating.
Have you always been like this?
I've always been like this my whole life. And it's crazy because, like, you know, I be like, come on, Toy. Like, Toya is my real name. So, you know, Billionaire Barbie is the stage name. But I just be like, come on, Toy, dumb it down a little bit for them. They not ready, but I don't know how to be no other type of way but like this.
Are you the only one in your immediate family like this?
No. I come from a long line of strong backbone women. Like, my mom, particularly my grandmom, God rest her soul, but that was like my baby, you know. So, my grandma, like, is really outspoken. She was one of a kind. So I think, like, a lot of that comes from probably, like, my mom and my grandma for sure.
Grandmother on your mother's side?
Yeah, definitely.
How did she pass?
So she just was a fighter. She had strokes ultimately, and that's what took her out. But she had so many before. And I think the last time she was just over it. She was just over fighting. She was just ready to go meet her father, you know, and I understand. It was the saddest thing in my life that ever happened, though, you know. I was literally standing over her, rubbing on her chest when she took her last breath. And this is, like, the lady who raised me. So, like, that was real difficult for me. I had to bury her and all of that. So it's just like, yeah. You know, and it just kind of sucks because I wish she could be here to, like, see all of this stuff now.
Now, this is a difficult question to ask, but when you see her take her last breath, was that something you wanted to be present for? Or it just so happened that the circumstances
No, that was something
I
absolutely wanted to be present for. I honestly think she waited for me, you know. Like, I think she waited for me to come down, you know. My best friend is like my sister. Her name's Lily. And when everything happened, she was just kind of like, nah, you need to go down there now. You know, she had lost her grandparents when we first became friends. We've been friends for like over 10 years. So I think she kind of felt it and she knew it was about to happen. And I think I was kind of just holding on the hope of, like, my grandma was a fighter, so I'm thinking she's going to pull it through. But I took my friend's advice. I went down to Florida. That's where she passed at. And I was actually at the hospital. The day it happened was on my oldest daughter's birthday, and they drove down, my oldest daughter and my best friend, my sister. And I think that my grandma was, like, waiting for all of us to get there collectively. And then I think she was waiting for me to, like, give her the okay to, like, let go. So it's absolutely where I wanted to be at. I would have never forgave myself if I couldn't have been there.
Were you the only one that witnessed this, or were there others that saw the last breath?
Nah, my sister was right there with me, my best friend. You know, she was standing right next to me, you know, when it happened. And my mom was in the room. My grandmom's husband, my grandpa was in the room. I think my little sister and, like, a sprinkle of other family members were there. So, like, yeah, we were there.
And how did you know, or was the family alerted that this was imminent, this last breath situation?
None of us knew, actually, like, that's what was gonna happen. It was just like her being in the hospital and not fighting no more. We knew it was imminent. And I think when I knew too was like, cause I'll call my grandma, you know, and I, like, pep talk her. And I remember, like, my mom, like, was holding the phone to her ear, kind of like on speakerphone. And I was just like, you know, you're a fighter, you're going to make it through this, fight through this. And then my mom took the phone away and was like, you're upsetting her. I think that I didn't want to believe it, but at that time I knew, like, it was about to happen, for sure.
Did doctors say this was about to happen?
In so many words they did, you know what I mean? They were just telling us to make her comfortable, and she was in hospice. So, like, yeah, you know what step that is.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if she had been on some sort of machine or apparatus and they were about to unplug it, and that's how you knew? Or
what? It happened abruptly. It's just like literally she was, it was the Michael Dunn trial. I'll never forget that, in Jacksonville. And her and my mom were actually on the phone conversating when she had the stroke. So my mom lives kind of like 5 minutes away from my grandma in Florida. She rushed around the corner and then they called the ambulance. So it's like she was fine earlier that day. And then that night it just all went left. So it happened real fast, yeah.
What, health-wise, what led to all these strokes? Was there a trigger for it?
I think that ultimately it was the thing that she was born with. She was born with a hole in her heart. So she always had issues with that, you know, and she would be on medication for it. So like thinners and stuff like that. But the thinners was causing some other issue. And then they'll give her something for her blood to clot. But then I think that medication for her blood to clot is what ultimately started causing all the strokes. And like I said, she fought through like 9 of them before this last one took her out. So yeah, it was pretty hard. You know, I just thought she'll always be here. I just never thought like she would be gone. And it's just, to this day, it's like, you know, something real to deal with. Like, she's really not here. It's crazy. Like, my sister got me her picture for my birthday this year. And so, like, it's in my store in Virginia, but I'll be, like, walking it around the store, like, look, Mom, look at my store, and, like, look at my car, because she always loved that I'll, you know, be in something foreign. And my grandma was just, like, where I get all that luxury lifestyle for sure from. And she's actually the one that spoke this lifestyle over me and told me that, like, I would be the one to, you know, be super successful and bring our family out of generations of poverty. And it's just like, you know, I'm the first 7-figure earner in my whole entire, like, lineage. So this is all stuff that my grandma predicted. So that's why I kind of feel it's like unfair that she's not here to like really see it happen. So yeah.
Did she actually see you at least make 7 figures?
Nah, she didn't. I don't even think she got to see me make 6 figures. She probably saw me in like the 5-figure range, you know, before I divorced my ex-husband. She saw me get married to him. So she did see me get out of the streets, and I used to be a stripper. So she saw me get out of the club, and I think she was real happy. Like, for her, that was like, all right, my grandbaby made it, you know. So I was happy that she did get to see that, you know, because she used to always tell me, like, you need to find you something else to do, honey. So, because that ain't it. And, you know, she was right. She was right.
When you refer to the streets, that phrase there, are you referring to illegal activity?
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, like tons of illegal activity. Like, what? I went to prison for a whole year out here in Georgia. You know, so like I got a real story, but I started dancing when I was like 14 years old. I ran away from home, and I've been taking care of my own myself ever since I was 14. So like, just imagine, you know what I mean? I was in the darkest place on this earth in those clubs when I was 14. But I mean, like, when it comes down to it, I've done it all, you know? So like, I think that me sitting in prison for a year and realizing like my pretty little face and bat and my eyelashes wasn't gonna like get me out of that shit, that really woke me up, and I was just like, oh yeah, nah, the life of crime is not for me. Like, I gotta do what this lady said and find something else to do. But prior to that, you know, I'm from the hood. Like, I'm from Jacksonville, Florida, Duval County, out east Jacksonville, you know. What we see is strippers, what we see is dope boys, what we see is scammers, you know, what we see is boosters. That's what we see. That's like our representation of success. So like, you going to college and getting a degree, that's not a real representation of success for us. Like, that's not likely for that to happen to like really nobody in the hood. You know, so what we see is like hood success and street success, and that's what I saw, and that's what I wanted. You know, I didn't realize that I was on the wrong path until, you know, the shit nearly killed me. It took my freedom away. It took me away from my child. So like, yeah, it took like me to bump my head to see it was wrong finally. But coming from that, you don't know that's wrong. You just know like, this is the people that's balling, and you know you want to ball too.
Was it a felony charge?
Yeah, I'm definitely a convicted felon, 5-time convicted felon. So like, when they hit me, yeah. And I spent like a year in Adel State Prison. It was Cobb County where I went to jail. I didn't know that meant like count on being busted and come on black boy and all of that. Like, but simultaneously, it was like the worst thing and best thing that happened to me in my life, because I wouldn't even be on this path, honestly, if that didn't happen to me. So yeah.
And when it comes to Cobb County, I've interviewed someone that had a brush with the law in Cobb County, and they had a situation where they ended up in prison for about a year, and they were on probation for 10 years. They violated the 8th year.
Yeah,
and
I've been there.
If people want to watch that interview, And the person's name is Baby Chris 2K. If they want to watch that interview, they could search for that in this YouTube channel. And that phrase there, "Come on, black boy," he referred to that same phrase that you just mentioned.
Yeah, that's what it literally means. Like, come on, black boy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, count on being busted. Like, the thing that I think people don't understand is, like, if you think this shit not absolutely set up to, like, for a lack of a better word, fuck us over, then you're crazy if you don't think that. You know, especially in 2020, if it hasn't showed you that, you're crazy, man. I've been there before. It's like when I was in jail, like going through trial and everything, like, all I saw was like black men and black women. That's the majority of the population in jail. When I got to prison, that's also the majority of the population in prison. So it's just like, yeah, certain counties, that's what they're on, and they're gonna racially profile you and all of that stuff if you fit the bill and you fit the description. And it's like, for people coming from where I came from, it's really hard for us not to fit the description until we get introduced to a higher vibration and we know how to present ourselves better. But if you don't know that yet, like, you're probably definitely going to be racially profiled, and it's a real thing in these smaller counties, and Cobb County being one of the counties that has been known to, like, you know, man, just destroy black lives for the longest. Like, it's known out here, you know what I mean? I was just moving here and I didn't know it, but I found out real fast. So yeah.
When you say you are a 5-time convicted felon, does that mean you collected 5 felonies at one time that led to this 1 year in prison?
Yeah. So when they came, they came. Like, they didn't disappoint. So yeah, I collected all those felonies at one time. But you know, like, God is good. You know, I owe everything I have to Christ. I'm not religious at all. I'm just big on, like, my faith in Christ is a difference. Like, I'm not no judgmental Christian or nothing like that that's about to try to act perfect and look down my nose at you. But what I can tell you is that everything in my life that happens for the good, like, is responsible to, like, my faith in Christ. So I would say, like, going through that situation, I even had favor in that situation, you know, because I would still be in prison right now to this day if it was not for, like, favor and grace and mercy in that situation. Like, I literally was facing, like, 80 years, you know what I mean, with all the charges that was on me collectively, and then I skated with, like, a year in prison and, like, 7 years on felony probation. You know, so, like, I really came out, like, still good. You know, I still got so many breaks throughout the whole situation. It was my case. There was nobody else on the case. I didn't have no co-defendants or nothing like that. It was all on me. But it could have been much worse than what it was. You know, I could still be sitting in there right now. So, like, I'd be forever grateful for that, for sure.
It was a plea deal you accept?
Something like that. So basically, when you go to jail in Cobb County, you're going to be sitting forever. If you don't got, like, family on the outside calling in for you, you're going to be sitting for months, literally. And I didn't have, like, no family or nothing like that calling, like, hey, when's she going to court, or nothing like that. So I was sitting. I sat there for literally, like, 4 months before my lawyer talked to me, anything like that. So finally, when it came to me, they was like, I could take a 10-1. And I was just, like, mortified, like, damn, like, 9 years on probation, how? Like, I smoke weed every day. So, like, how am I going to do 9 years on felony probation? Like, this is a whole setup. That's what I felt like, you know. But I took it. She was like, you know, if you want to go ahead and take this deal, I can get you from out of sitting in the county. You can go ahead, go to court, you know what I mean? And then they could go ahead and transport you and you could be done with this. So I'm like, okay, cool. And then just by the grace of God, when I got to court, there was like a 7-1, you know what I mean? The judge just, like, looked at me, and I guess she felt bad. I don't know what the fuck happened, but whatever, she felt like she wanted to have some mercy on me. So she proposed a 7-1, and the state just kind of went with it. And it was just the wildest shit you ever seen, because I'm going in that courtroom thinking I'm finna sit in here for a year and, like, literally do, like, 9 years on felony probation. So it still worked out in my favor.
So when you mentioned lawyer, is this a public defender?
It was a public defender. It wasn't a real lawyer. It wasn't a paid lawyer. So that's the thing, you know, that's one of those things that I say, like, I'm real super transparent about, because the shit that got me, like, in there and in that situation, so we're talking about thousands of dollars worth of stuff, but it's just not realistic to you that you're going to get caught for the stuff you're doing. And when you're doing something illegal and you're doing it for like a long period of time, in your mind, you're going to start thinking this is legal. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's kind of what it was with me. I got caught up on a dumb-ass mistake. You know what I mean? Something that if I was on point, it would have been easily avoided. But you know how that go. When it's your time, it's your time. When the jig is up, that jig is up. So, yeah, when I got caught up, like, I didn't even have money like that to get a paid lawyer. I had to have a public defender. But luckily, it was this black lady. Her name was Lisa. I'll never forget that. And she just was for me. Like, I don't know why this lady must have felt compassion for me. I was so young. I think I probably was like 22 or something, 23. But she just really went to bat for me, and she didn't have to because all she had to do was fucking show up and get her paycheck. And she kind of really went the extra mile, and it's because of that, you know, it wasn't as bad as it could have been. So, yeah.
What's your race, ethnicity, or nationality?
African American. Now, we got, like, a lot of stuff mixed up in there like everybody else do, but it's just like I'm black, period.
And what was the judge race, nationality?
White. The state was white. You know, I was black. My public defender was black. That was the extent of the black people in the courtroom.
Prosecutor was also?
Prosecutor was white. You know, judge was white. So, yeah.
Do you think that had a role in this?
Yeah, I think it has a role in everything. I definitely do. You know, I'm just, if we're going to be realistic and honest, like the racial divide absolutely plays a part. And it's laws and stuff like that we as black people, we're not really up on and we're not really in tune with, that determine our fates because like you can have like the presidential election and the big elections, but like the smaller ones are the ones that's really like determining what's really going on and what's going to happen to our people. And I think that what a lot of us don't realize is those laws is who going to put these judges and stuff like that on the benches. And then who they're going to deal with the most statistic wise is us. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, that absolutely plays a role. This particular prosecutor and judge just happened to, like, I don't know, I just feel like God touched their heart. For some reason, they had favor on me. I don't know why to this day. Like, but I'm just thankful for it, and I don't take it for granted at all.
Care to share what the final charge was that stuck?
Oh, charges? Yeah, like everything. Theft by receiving, freaking identity fraud, possession of cocaine with the intent to distribute, possession of marijuana with the intent to distribute, discharge of a weapon on the property of another without their permission. Now, that was one of those charges that was just kind of like, what is this charge? Because I never heard of it before because I was supposed to be charged with aggravated assault. I literally, like, shot a club up. You know what I mean? The details behind that was just kind of like crazy for that night, you know what I mean? But it was just definitely, once again, some racist shit in Cobb County. And basically, you know, like I'm at this bar, 2 security guards pick me up, and I'm probably like $130 at the time, like skinny as hell. They open a door with me and throw me outside on the ground. I had parked my car in the front that night, and I remember, like, I had my gun under my seat, and I just grabbed the gun, and I just went to town, you know what I'm saying? I really wasn't thinking. That shit right there alone was supposed to get me 2 aggravated assault counts, like, but when that particular detective came to talk to me, I was already in custody for the shit, the fraud shit, basically. So that's kind of what saved me. Otherwise, they was coming to my house with, like, SWAT, guns drawn, everything, like... You know, it's so funny, too, because when they came to my house, the police were like, damn, we thought this was a dud search warrant. And they ended up, of course, finding shit in my house. And they was looking all sad, like, damn, we thought you was just like some rich kid. Like, they didn't think, like, they was about to come find nothing. And they came to that motherfucker and found it all. But that situation saved me because I already talked to the one detective. I go back to my cell and another detective comes. And I'm thinking, like, I watch Law and Order, so first of all, y'all, it's not like Law and Order. They're going to lock your ass up first, and then they're going to ask you questions later, and you better be able to have legal representation. But I'm just, like, talking shit, like, being super ignorant. Like, you know, is this good cop, bad cop or something? And he like, nah, I want to talk to you about the shooting that happened. And I'm like, oh. wow. So, you know, I just started breaking down crying like, hey, listen, sir, I was just trying to, like, you know, I'm not a violent person, you know what I mean? I think it was just me, once again, being transparent, showing this man I'm a real person with issues, with problems. I'm saying what my problems is, and I'm like, please help, sir. Like, don't lock me away and throw away the key. So the man is literally like, the detective is like, we got to figure out what we're going to charge you with, because we was about to charge you with 2 counts of aggravated assault. Now, if y'all know anything about, like, crimes, that's 10 years to the door per charge in Georgia, and it's a violent crime. So that means you're going to do 85% of that time. So I still would be locked up. You know, this man is like, we got to figure out what we're going to charge you with. And I literally sat in, like, Cobb County Jail for, like, a month before those charges came. And I'll never forget, like, if you get extra charges put on you, they either going to bring a green form or a yellow form. The yellow form is the one you don't want to motherfucking see, because that means you got another felony put on you. But the green form mean a misdemeanor. And I would never forget that lady coming in like Jones, calling my name, and she had a green form in her hand. And thus, discharge of a weapon on the property of another without their permission. The craziest shit ever. Like, I don't even know what that charge is to this day. But it ended up getting ran concurrent with, like, the rest of my sentence. So I got time served for that before I even got to prison. And it was, like, the worst, to me, in my opinion, of them all. I could have really hurt somebody that night on some stupid, young-ass, dumb-ass, drunk-ass shit, and could be spending the rest of my life behind bars. So, like, favor is real. Mercy is real.
When you say 10 to the door, what does that door mean?
10 to the door means 10 all the way. You finna do it to the door. Like, you get sentenced 10, you're doing 10 years. Like, you know what I mean?
Most of that 10 years.
You're gonna do mostly all of that time. You know what I mean?
See.
When it's a violent crime in Georgia, you have to do mostly all of that time. I believe it's 85% of that time or something. So, like, we just call that 10 years to the door. Like, you're doing almost all of that 10 years.
So when the detective comes a question about the shooting and you're being transparent, you actually admit to the shooting? You actually admit guilt?
Yeah, I said I did it, like, right then and there, like, because there was no need to bullshit this man. Like, he got me on camera doing it. He got my car right there parked in the front. He got my tag zoomed in on. He got the fucking receipt that I signed when I swiped my credit card at the bar for the drinks. So, to me, it was just no reason to bullshit and lie at that point. It's just like, hey, I did it. What can we do? And that's what I did. That's what I went with. And it was, like, the best thing I ever did.
And he shows you this evidence that he has on you?
Yeah, hell yeah. He was not playing with me at all. In no way, shape, or form. He was like, all right, this is what we got. Like, so it's tried and true what they say. Like, if the police come in to question you and they're like, well, we feel like you did this. We got this and we got that. We got this. But they're not showing you none of that, then they're bullshitting. But because when they got something for real, they're like, Exhibit A. Exhibit B, like, we got you on this, and that, and they're going to show you that shit in a little evidence bag, and it's like, if they got it, they're going to show you that. So when he showed me my fucking signature on the receipt, when he's showing me pictures of me doing this shit, when he's showing me zoomed in pictures of my tag, it's like, well, I'm going to sit here and play with this man intelligent. Fuck that. I'm finna tell this man I got a motherfucking drinking problem. I need help. And I don't need to be locked away and thrown away the key. And that's what I did. And it worked. You know what I mean?
Did you have this public defender with you present when the detective was questioning you?
Nah, no, No, he came and got me, like, immediately after SWAT came to my house for the other stuff. Like, that one detective questioned me about, like, all the identity fraud and stuff like that. And then the other detective came along and, like, hey, we got you shooting up this club. What you got to say about it? And I'm just like, oh, everything about that man's demeanor was like, don't play with him. Everything about his demeanor was like, don't play with him. And, like, I did it. I did that shit, and I was caught red-handed, so I was not about to play, like, because I would only be playing with my life at that point. So, yeah, I told him I did it.
When either detective situation came to question you about either the identity theft or the club shooting, did you ask for an attorney present? Did you ask?
When the first detective came, yeah, I was just like, because he was on some complete bullshit, you know what I'm saying? So I was just like, take me back to my cell, you know, like, I don't want to talk to you unless my attorney right here. But when the second cop came, that's why I was kind of being disrespectful with the second detective. And I was just kind of like, you know, What y'all trying to play like good cop, bad cop or some shit? I seen this shit on Law and Order. They're like, bitch, this ain't Law and Order. So, yeah, you know, but I didn't have no attorney neither time, but the first one I knew, like, whatever, I'm not saying shit. And to this day, I still ain't say nothing about that one. But the second one, it was just like I was caught red-handed. So it's like, sir, yeah, I did this shit. So what we gonna do from here? Because, like, I'm caught. It's no fucking line. That's like you trying to tell God, I ain't do it, God. He saw you. Like, you did it. You know what I'm saying? So, like, with that one, I couldn't play with it.
Do they, before they start questioning you, do they ask if you have any sort of representation or?
Hell nah. They're not asking no young black girl or probably no young black person if they got legal representation. They want you to say some shit to incriminate yourself right then and there. And it happens all the time, you know. And then I was 22 at the time when this happened. I'm 35 right now, you know what I'm saying? So now that I'm older, I know a lot more about the system and I know a lot more about injustices and how they do stuff. But like, they ain't asking no young black person, do they want to get their lawyer? Your ass better be smart enough to say that shit if you know you caught up in some shit that they can't prove, but they probably got you on it. And that's what I knew about the other shit. It's like, at the end of the day, y'all ain't find nothing but like one piece of merchandise maybe in my house. I could have bought that shit from somebody at the end of the day. But they didn't have no evidence to present with me. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like with that, you're going to have to go get my lawyer, period. I'm not saying shit to you. Like, you finna earn that paycheck. But for the second situation, it's like, man, this man coming at you and he got your ass on red-handed, like on camera. So what you gonna do? So that second situation, like, I knew I wasn't gonna play. But now they not about to ask you if you got no like lawyer. They gonna try to talk to your ass and get you to incriminate yourself as much as possible before you even get legal representation. Because a lawyer can't do shit for you after that if you incriminate yourself. And that's the angle. They want you to do that so they can send your ass to jail and just you another nigga in jail, period.
So the first detective, when you get questioned about the identity theft and you say you want an attorney or a lawyer, they stop the questioning and just put you back in the cell? Is that
Nah, they don't stop the question. They're going to keep on trying to question you after that. They're going to keep trying to question you, you know what I'm saying? You kind of got to get a little bit disrespectful. So I did have to get a little bit disrespectful, like, you know what I'm saying? Fuck you, cracker, take me back to my motherfucking cell. And I'm young and crazy at the time, too, so it's really like, fuck you. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, like, he stood me up all rough, slammed the cuffs on my wrist, and I'm just like, wow, I'm totally not even a criminal, but okay. So, yeah, no, they be mad, you know what I'm saying? If you ask for that lawyer and they know they don't have no evidence against you, they be definitely mad, and they definitely handle you a certain way, for sure.
With the questioning about the shooting, even though he had the evidence on you and you were being transparent, was there ever a thought, I should have a lawyer for this or the rest of these questions?
Hell nah, because it's like, what the fuck a lawyer gonna do if they got me on camera? You know what I'm saying? Like, what your lawyer gonna do? Like, I didn't think for a second that I needed a lawyer for that. I thought, like, girl, you better act like you human. You better show this man, you better be, if it was ever a time to be transparent, that time is now, you know what I'm saying? Because it's no out, it's no way out of that. Like, when somebody got you red-handed, like, they had me red-handed, like, all aspects. There's no playing with that, so it wasn't even me thinking I need a lawyer. It's like, please, sir, God, please don't put no aggravated assault charge on me. So that's all I was thinking about with that second one. And I sat, like, I remember going to, because I was in Smyrna at first, and then they had to transfer me to, like, the big Cobb County jail. And I remember they only had, like, all the felonies and shit on me. And I was like, what about the other charges? They was like, what other charges? We don't see no other charges. And I'm like, nah, it's some other charges. You know, so I remember being nervous about that, like, damn, what these charges finna come, because, like, my life was hanging in a balance. You know what I'm saying? If you would have came back with aggravated assault, it would be nothing I can do about that. It's no fighting that shit with evidence against you. So I was definitely, like, worried about that one, for sure.
And when you actually finally get a public defender, do they just give it to you automatically, or you have to request for that, or how does that process work?
I think they give that to you automatically, if I'm not mistaken. It's been some years, but I'm pretty sure they give you they gotta give you that public defender. So, like, you can't go out there with no legal representation unless, like, for some odd reason you request that. So I think it's like an automatic thing. You just kind of get assigned to someone, and I just happen to get assigned to someone good. When
you get this offer and the public defender says, hey, it's a 10-1, Does she say, or do you ask, hey, can I fight this? Do you think it's a good idea to fight?
Hell
Do you think you could
yeah.
win if we fought it?
Yeah, like, you know, that was the whole topic of the conversation that day. I'm just asking her, like, what do you think? Like, you know, and she's just telling me straight up, like, it ain't looking good. You know what I'm saying? So, like, if we take this, she told me straight up, if we take this to trial and we lose, you're facing 80 years. So if we take this to trial and we lose this, they're going to throw the book at you and you're going to get the maximum. They're going to impose the maximum sentence. You know what I'm saying? And then she was actually pretty cool, man. She was just encouraging me, and she was just like, you know, I was crying. I remember I was crying to her, and I was just like, "It's no way I'm gonna be able to last 10 years on no felony, probation." And she's just like, you know, I have other clients, you know, they did it, they graduated from it, you know, they're good now, you know, you can do it. So she was just like, you know, and then I remember her like grabbing my hand and like squeezing my hand and telling me like, black woman, like, you can do it, you need to take this, and, you know, when you get like a new lease on life, you need to make the most of it. So that's kind of one of my driving forces too, is just like, I guess the compassion I got shown in that situation, because whenever you're in situations like that, you're like the worst representation of yourself that you could possibly be. You know what I'm saying? And the only people that's gonna see past that really is like people that love you. So when you run into like complete strangers and people that's supposed to be opposing you, or people that's just really there to get a paycheck, and they showing you compassion, they showing you favor, that was just, you know, when I came out of that, I still kind of, like, I went back to dancing because it was all I knew at the time. When I came home from prison or whatever, but I always knew, like, in the back of my mind, I appreciated that. I wish it was something I could do to thank those people, and I knew, like, that shit wasn't for me no more, that life of crime. I knew that I had to change my life around. So with me, it's all about seeing it in my mind's eye first and then manifesting it. So I would just sit and, like, this life I'm living right now, I would sit and just dream it up. Think about it like every day, every night, like be lost in it. And when I was in prison too, it was like my dreams was my escape, and daydreaming was my escape, and writing was my escape. And it's like I literally like wrote out a lot of stuff that's going on in my life right now, and I literally like dreamed it up. So yeah.
The two officers that were mulling what charges to put in the club shooting incident, what was their race, ethnicity, nationality?
Everybody was white. Everybody was white. Both the detectives was white, you know what I'm saying? But that one particular detective, he just like, I don't know, he had a heart or something, I don't know. You know, because I could just see him, and, you know, and I remember him telling me like, our intention is not to like just lock you away. Our intention is to rehabilitate you. I remember him telling me that. And I remember thinking to myself, like, man, that shit was a bunch of bullshit, man. This man finna fucking throw the book at my ass for real. And that man really had mercy on me. Like, these charges, like, if you look up discharge of a weapon on the property of another without their permission, like, you ain't never heard of that charge in your life before. So, like, this man really went to the law books to try to figure out what's the least thing that he could charge me with. And it's like, to this day, I really, like, wow, man, I really respect, like, all of them ain't bad. That's what I can tell you. All of them ain't bad, you know. And I'm not going to, like, I know what comes with the street, so I'm not going to ever tell you to, like, do no police job for them. But what I will tell you is if you caught red-handed in some shit, especially if you caught on candid camera doing something, your best bet is probably just going to be to be transparent, because that's what I did, and it's why I'm sitting here right now, for sure.
Did they know you were an exotic dancer?
I wasn't dancing at that time. I was hustling at that time. So I was doing everything. I was scamming, I was selling drugs, I was selling guns, I was doing everything. So yeah, at that time I wasn't. When I went away to prison and I came out of prison, it was just like, all right, I know I'm not finna sell no drugs. I know I'm not finna ever do no scams or no shit like that no more. So what can I do? And it was just like, Follies was right there, and so I did Follies, yeah.
So initially at 14, you do exotic dance, then you take a break of some sort, then it's other crimes you get into, and then you go to prison, you get out, and it's back to exotic dancing.
Yeah, when I was younger, I danced or whatever, but then when I moved to Atlanta, when I was even getting ready to move away, and when I moved to Atlanta, it was just like a whole different ball game. It's like Atlanta is the place of hustling. So when I got to Atlanta, it was just all about like a hustle, and it was the wrong kind of hustle, but it's that kind of place here. Like, whatever you put in the universe is going to come to pass for you. Whether it's like good or bad, it's going to happen.
Now, not your race, ethnicity, or nationality, but your actual looks. Do you think that had anything to do with them giving you a lesser charge?
Probably. Like, probably, you know, I got a sweet face, especially my sad face, you know, and then it's like, so I'm sure that had something to do with it, you know. I'm pretty sure it did, you know. I think that, of course, like, you know, if you are like attractive, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, like, I'm not like that. I'm real humble. But like, I know that shit does matter. Appearance does matter, you know. And then I carried myself in a certain way back then, just like I do now. So yeah, I think that probably definitely had a lot to do with it.
Was that a tactic for you? Did you try to play on that when speaking to these
Nah,
officers?
Nah, I'm not even thinking they looking at nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, these is white men. Like, I'm not thinking they even interested. Not those kind of white men anyway. So, nah, it wasn't nothing like me trying to play on my looks or like, okay, yeah, I know I'm attracted, so let me try to use this. Nah, that shit was on some, I'm looking at some pictures of me doing some crazy shit. And it's like, what do I do in this situation? Do I play with this man's intelligence or do I just, you know, show my vulnerability? And I think showing that vulnerability as a woman, as a mother, because I was a mother at the time as well, I think probably those things, maybe coupled with the looks or something, I don't know. I feel like all of that saved me. But for some reason, that man just, like, didn't want to see me locked away. Maybe he saw, like, some potential in me. Maybe he saw, like, you know, this girl's going to go somewhere one day. I don't know. But I just know, like, whatever he saw, I'm glad that he, you know what I'm saying, showed that mercy for sure.
Just a few more questions when it came to the public defender. Did you, when you get this initial plea deal of 10-1, do you ask her and say, hey, if we decline this, is there a chance we could get a better offer?
Oh, yeah. That's when she told me, like, if we take this to trial, they're going to give me 80 years. And that shit wasn't happening. I wasn't, you know, that shit wasn't happening. And I think I said trial earlier, but, like, when I'm going to court. But, like, an actual trial, I knew I wasn't about to take them to no trial. Hell fucking no. It's like, no, I'm not. If I take something to trial, it's like, I know you don't got no evidence. So I know you're going to have to really get up and prove that I did that shit. But, like, in that situation, it's like, nah, hell no, I'm not taking them to trial. It's like, what the fuck they want to offer? Cool, let's take it. And let me get the fuck on to prison and get this shit over with. And that was my mind state.
Because I have interviewed people that have gone to prison, but they accept a plea deal, but it was a second or third deal they get offered. And my question is, are they taking a risk by declining the first deal?
Hell yeah. But it's just like every situation is different. It's just depending on what you did. Like, you know, if you know, like, this person don't really got nothing on you, then yeah, maybe you can be like, nah, I'm straight, I ain't taking that. But I done seen it happen. Like, one of my ex-boyfriends back in Florida, like, turned down plea deals and then ended up getting 30 years. They ended up habitual offending him and taking charges from, like, the 1980s and coupling that with charges from the 90s and then, like, the 2000s, and giving this man 30 years. He's still locked up to this day, you know? So, like, when I think about shit like that, you know, yeah, no, you better know what you're doing if you're playing with it like that. I'm not about to play with my life like that, though, period.
Looking back, and obviously this is past tense now, but if you had the ability to get a paid lawyer, do you think that would have had a better plea deal? Do you think that would have been a better outcome for you out of this versus the public defender?
Absolutely. So my advice for anybody out there is if you're doing some illegal shit, you better be paying a retainer to a lawyer. It's just the smart thing to do. I know you probably don't have nobody out there to tell you that. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people out here doing illegal shit, especially now, especially y'all with this PPP scam and shit. Like, one thing I could, you know, my whole situation with that, too, is, like, I know when this shit happened to me, it took them a year to catch up with me. With what I've been seeing with this whole PPP stuff is, like, they coming back, like, 30 days after they giving you the loan and telling you everything you spent that money on. So my best advice to anybody that's out there engaging in anything illegal, you better be taking that money and giving a retainer to a lawyer. If you don't, you crazy. You playing with your time, bro. And these folks is not finna play with you when it come down to it at all.
And just for clarity, because I am a little hazy on some of the details here, but because there were two different crimes you were being accused of. There was the identity theft and then there was the shooting incident. Mm-hmm. So you mentioned there was a detective that came to your house.
No. Well, like, I don't know if one of the detectives was with the SWAT, but like a whole SWAT team came to my house. But a whole nother SWAT team with like big guns drawn, like if you shoot someone or something like that, was about to come if this current SWAT team didn't catch me for like the identity fraud. So they just came like regular cops, regular guns drawn, like, you know, it wasn't really that deep. Searched through the house and found what they needed to find. But, like, no, that shit was about to be, like, a whole situation. Like, if the other SWAT team was coming, that was the real deal boys coming.
So this is the clarity issue. So they come to your house for the identity theft situation, but the club incident happened at another point of time after that search, or was the club incident before the search and then...
it was before the search. It was before they came to my house altogether. All these situations happened at different times. But then these two detectives didn't know they were even coming for the same person. You know what I mean? So it was just when I got in custody, the other detective is like, oh, we was coming to serve a search warrant on this same girl. You mean you got her in custody right here? And that's when he came to talk to me. So yeah, these are like separate, isolated situations that just kind of came to a head together at the same time. Yeah.
So was it just a coincidence?
Yeah, no, it was just time to pay the piper. It was that time.
But it wasn't a coordinated, organized effort. It was just two different detectives investigating two different things that just so happened coincidentally to meet at the same time.
Right. They didn't know they was coming for the same, person. Like, they didn't come at the same time. They just, one came to my house and put me in jail, and then once the other one found out, he knew, like, oh, wow, I was looking for the same person, and then he came. So it was, like, not an effort with them together.
How far apart was once you go to jail, do the cops come about the shooting?
Let's see, hours. It was the same day. Let me see. They came that morning time, early in the morning. It take a little while. So maybe by the afternoon, I was processed in the first jail. And then probably after I talked to the first detective, maybe an hour, 2 hours most later, that's when the next one came. So it was like that. Yeah.
So, okay, now you end up going to prison. And do you actually do a full calendar year, or some of that county?
No, I did a whole entire calendar year, over a year. I think it was like a year and 2 weeks or something like that, because I had other charges, like a petty weed charge in like Adel, Georgia. And so I'm thinking I'm about to get out, you feel me? And the county is there to pick me up. So literally, I'm getting out of prison on this day, and Adel is there to pick me up, and they drive me down to Adel, and I got to spend 2 weeks down there. So I literally got out right before Christmas in December of 2009.
Did the time you sat in county jail, that didn't count towards that one calendar year in prison?
Yeah, it went towards it. So I spent I think 4 months in county, and then the rest of that time in prison or whatever. So yeah, I did count towards it.
Okay, so even though it's a full calendar year, technically you only spent maybe 70% in an actual prison.
Yeah, in an actual prison. And I would have rather spent 100% in an actual prison, because county is terrible. I got in the most fights and the most shit and got locked down the most times in county. When I got to prison, it wasn't, people live there for a while. That's like you coming to my house oh yeah, I'm about to come to your house and fight you. It's not happening. That's what prison is like. You're not finna go to their house and think you finna bring drama to that shit. So prison is very chill. For women anyway. I know it's different for men, but for women it's a whole nother ballgame. Jail, county is where the fuck you don't want to be at, for sure. That's where you're going to be getting into shit left and right. So, yeah.
And it could any of those fights that you do in county, could they lead to additional charges?
Absolutely. It be happening all the time. You know what I'm saying? If you hurt somebody enough in a fight, yeah, you're asking to get another charge put on you. And they want to put another charge on you. They want to put as many charges on you as they can.
So, it was Cobb County Jail for you. Mm-hmm. And I think you mentioned what prison you were stationed.
Adel State Prison.
And then Adel County Jail?
No,
for the
Adel
2 weeks?
State Prison.
What about those 2 weeks? When Adel comes and picks you up?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's not Adel. It's Alto State Prison and then Adel County Jail.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was the first time, when you went to Cobb County, was that the first time you ever went to jail?
Nah, I've been in jail before in Florida. I'm from Jacksonville. But Florida just be All right, you're released on your own recognizance. All right, you can get out. All right, charges dropped. All right, bullshit probation that you can pay your way out of. But Georgia is like, bitch, you're going to fucking prison, period. And that was like, oh, it's no bad. And my eyelashes out of this one, it's no... Like, Georgia don't give a fuck. It's not the place to come get in trouble at all. I think people think that Atlanta is a representation of Georgia, and it's not at all. Georgia is very much a racist place. It's very much a white place. It's very much all of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Atlanta, Georgia, this little pocket is what's black. But it's not the place that you ever want to get in trouble at. It's not the place you want to go through the legal system at all. Georgia is not playing no games with you, especially when it comes down to drugs and any type of theft, fraud, anything like that. They're not going to play with you at all. You're going to prison, period.
This was your first and only time in prison?
Hell yeah, never again. I'm straight. Next time the county or the state seat. No, I'm just playing. That's my belly stuff.
And this was state prison?
Yeah, it was state prison. It's the worst prison in the world. I think that state prison is like the worst. State prison gonna humble you, or if it don't humble you, I don't know what it's gonna take. Like, you don't even get to eat on the weekends. Like, on the weekends they feed you lunch and wait, do they even feed you lunch? Nah, I think they just feed you dinner on the weekends. During the week, they'll feed you breakfast if you wake up at 5 in the morning, lunch and dinner. But on the weekends, I think you just getting dinner, if I'm not mistaken. So you be hungry in there. And if you don't have, like, no support system on the outside to, like, send you money for commissary, it's going to be rough. State prison is hard. Like, it's really hard. I wouldn't wish that shit on, like, my worst enemy. Like, somebody got to literally, like, touch like a child or some shit like that, or do some foul shit, some unthinkable for me to want to see them in prison, period. I don't want to see that happen to nobody.
My next question was going to be, what does being incarcerated in state prison feel like? And you kind of answered that right there.
Yeah, like you feel like an animal. That's what you feel like. They treat you like that. And then they say fuck shit to you. Like, the streets raising your kids. Your kid run up in my house, I'm going to blow their ass away. And it's just like, you got to go to this thing called diagnostics. And it's here in Atlanta, actually. Before you go get sent off to because you got like Zebulon, you got Alto. So before you get sent off to like wherever your general population gonna be, you gotta go through diagnostics. And like, they just talk to you the meanest, the nastiest. Like, it's something called the CERT team. And when you get off the bus, it's like they in your face screaming on you like you in the military. You gotta get butt ass naked, bent over, squat, cough, like, you got to get sprayed down with a water hose. It's just like the worst fucking experience ever you can go through. It's like, and they just talking shit to you the whole time. And you better not say shit. Like, you look at them motherfuckers wrong, they beating your ass. All of them jumping on you. They get like all black heavy boots on. Like, other girls, some guys or whatever, but like they will literally jump your ass and beat your motherfucking ass and like throw you in the cell and lock down somewhere until you heal, and won't let your family talk to you or nothing like that until you healed up enough. So it's just like, it's nothing to play with. You know what I'm saying? It's so degrading. It's so belittling. It's like, it's the worst. I think in my opinion, it's the worst place you could be on earth, for sure.
So when you're getting naked and you have to bend over and cough and squat, you're doing this in front of men or women?
No, women. You're doing it in front of women, but that don't make it no better. It don't make it shit. Some of the women look like men. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, some of these guards look like niggas. So it's like, it doesn't make it no better. And they do that shit to degrade you. That's what it's for. It's to belittle you. It's to break you down. And I don't know nobody who been to prison who, like, you can go to county and get in and out and you'll be all right. You can get your mental back together. But going to prison, that's a completely different experience. Like, I don't know nobody who's been to prison that is not different. And then it's like, when you come home, you got to relearn yourself again, you know, because, like, you are a number in that shit. And you're not treated like you're a human at all. And so, like, when you come out, it's real hard, like, to readapt to society again, for sure.
You think some of those COs that are seeing you naked and bend over and cough and things of that nature, you think they're getting a thrill out of that?
Hell yeah, they're getting a thrill out of it. Hell yeah. And it's probably the bitches we was beating up in school. You know what I'm saying? This is probably the bitches that nobody looked at in school. It's probably the bitches that got punked in school. Like, most of those people in those situations are people who have absolutely no authority in real life. Like, so then they get behind a badge, whether it's a correctional officer's badge or a police officer's badge, and now they big, bad, and tough. But it's like in real life, like, come on, please. Would never. So, like, yeah, they're getting a thrill out of that shit. They're getting a thrill out of embarrassing you and belittling you, and then they tell you shit like, you'll be back. And it's just like, you know, and they used to be saying that shit to me too, and I was like, bitch, you'll see me on the screen before you see me back in this motherfucking shit, period. So, yeah.
What are some do's and don'ts in state prison?
Don't go in that shit thinking that you bad. Like, unless you really are and you about that life and you ready to lose yours, you ready to get stabbed the fuck up because you're so bad. You know what I mean? Don't go in there thinking you bad on that type of time. Don't go in there talking shit to them guards. Those are definitely some don'ts. Don't go on there and get on any kind of drug or no shit like that. Get caught up in no type of time like that. Those are definitely some don'ts. And then don't go in there trying to make friends and be cool with everybody. Like, go in that shit, do your time, stay to yourself. Dues, though, you do need to, I say go in there, do your time and stay to yourself, but you are going to have to squad up. Like, you're going to have to get with some like-minded individuals that's in there because you just can't be in that bitch roaming by yourself, absolutely. You got to have, like, you know, you can be, but for the most part, but you got to have, like, if it come down to it, a set of people that, like, these is your people in there. So you definitely got to go find your people when you in there because if some shit go down, it's going to be sides in prison, and that's just on period. That's how it is there. Do have a support system. Do have some family members, like, supporting you. But here's the thing, you're going to see who really for you when you go in there. You know, I always say, like, jail, prison, or hospital, that's going to show you, like, who really fuck with you and who don't. You know, so, like, that's some of the dudes. Do have some commissary money because your ass going to be hungry if you don't.
Some of these, okay, when it comes to your do's and don'ts that you just gave us, I know some are in gangs, some are not. Would this apply to gang members or not? Some of these do's and don'ts here?
Shit, I don't know, because I'm not in no gang. I'm not even for that stupid-ass gang shit, to be honest with you. It's the dumbest shit in the world to me. Like, you know, some of the smartest black men and women in the world is so smart, but then they caught up in that dumbass gang shit. They brainwashed with that shit. So I really don't know. And like I said, for women, it's different. So I'm sure with men, it's probably gangs. With women, there ain't no gangs in prison at all.
No one ever tried to recruit you to a gang?
Hell nah. It's just not no gangs. It's not enough unity in prison amongst women for it to be gangs in there. They're going to tell, period.
What was the biggest lesson you learned from the entire prison experience?
I learned that this life is not to be taken for granted. Freedom is not to be taken for granted. I learned that, you know, it can be snatched away from you so easily. Like, trouble is easy as hell to get into and really, really hard to get out of. And I don't know, I think I learned, like, that's a form of death. That's what I learned, is the form of death. Because, like, if you in there, you can't do nothing for nobody, yourself, your kids, your family members. You can't do nothing for yourself, and you can't do nothing for nobody else. So I feel like you got to definitely be always ducking them to the grave. You know what I'm saying? Like Nipsey Hussle say, walking through the prisons and the grave sites. It's not no place you want to be at ever.
If you could turn back the hands of time, would you have done anything different in the prison experience, the plea deal situation,
Nah, I wouldn't have done nothing different. I don't think that I would still be here right now if I didn't experience that. So if I could go back in time, it is stuff that I would change in my life, but that wouldn't be one of them. That shit woke me up. That shit made me get serious about this thing called life. And it showed me, like, what's really out here for me if I decide that I just want to, you know, stray off and do whatever I want to do. I think that people have to learn you can't do what you want to do in this world. Only partially. You know, only partially, but there are consequences to pay for your actions. And I think that that's the biggest lesson. So, like, if you're going to do something, you have to absolutely make sure you can take, like, the consequences that come along with it. And then you have to weigh your options. Is it really worth the consequences that's going to come along with it? So in my case, and I can only speak for myself, I can't speak for someone else. But in my case, it wasn't worth it. What I did, the amount of money I made, and then the stupid shit I did at that club wasn't worth the amount of time that I lost behind those bars in no way, shape, or form.
The plea deal was the right decision?
Yeah, hell yeah. That shit was the best thing ever. I was definitely not about to play with them and take it to trial.
I do want to ask you this. When it comes to religion, which you mentioned, I forgot what you said exactly. Did you say you're spiritual or you follow Christianity?
Yeah, no, I said I have faith in Jesus Christ. That's
Okay.
what I said. I'm not religious at all.
Okay.
I'm not, and I don't like spiritual. I don't like that. Like, cause what kind of spiritual is you talking about? Let's draw the line, cause you got to pick a side. So when it comes down to picking a side, clearly my side is Christ's side. But it's just like I feel like Christians like make it so judgmental and make it like you. At the end of the day, if we could just be perfect, then it wouldn't have took Christ to go down on the cross for us, period. God wouldn't have to send his only son. Because if we could just be good, we would just be good. You know what I'm saying? So I think that Christians trying to be good is the problem. I think that God makes us how we are. And he made you how you are. He made me how I am. People out there is going to look at this and see this. He made everybody like how they are. So I think that when you're a certain way, you have to reach the people that speak your same language. So if you're trying to be fake and you're trying to come off like you aren't, like something that you're not, it's not going to be really a whole lot of people you're going to be able to reach like that. So for me, I just have to approach it from a real perspective. I'm a real person. I've been through some real shit in my life. So when I'm talking to people about what I've overcame and what I've been through and like how I'm favored and how I'm so blessed and all of that, I'm talking to them from a real perspective. It's not no thou art. That's not even how God talked to me. So I don't know if some people hear like thou art my child. That's not what I hear. What I hear is, oh, that's what we on today. That's what we doing, because I already know we've been here before, and you know, like God, me and God have real conversations. So I guess that's what I'm trying to get at. It's about a real relationship with God, with your creator. You know what I'm saying? And whoever you deem your creator to be, my creator is Christ. Like who I got faith in is Christ. You might got faith in Buddha. You might got faith in whoever you got faith in, but I think it's about a real relationship with who you deem your God to be. And that's a real relationship in every sense of the word. So you're going to have to talk about stuff. You're going to have to tackle hard topics. You're going to have to come to them about stuff. And that's what I do. Like, it's not really much of nothing that I do on this earth that I didn't pray about it first. I didn't ask God about it first. I didn't go get in that counsel. So that, I guess that's what I mean. It's like a faith-filled life. And nothing more than that, because I'm not about to be fake at all. I've been through too much in my life for me to ever try to be something that I'm not, period.
And for you, why are you on the Christ side of things?
I'm on the Christ side of things just because he's shown me certain things and he's revealed himself to me. And so that's what I would tell everybody to judge it off of, your personal experiences and what you've seen. So when it comes down to me talking to anybody about Christ, it's like, I just ask God, Lord, just show them what you showed me. You know what I'm saying? Because I done seen, like, in my life so many times, in my business and everything, and Billionaire's hair, oh my God, that's God's business. That's not my business. Like, he saved that business so many times to the point where I'm like, this is definitely something that he just appointed me to do and like oversee. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's just about experiencing something real. And when it comes down to Christ, like I've experienced real things. He's revealed himself and continues to reveal himself to me. So it's the Christ for me. You know what I'm saying? Period.
Is that how you were raised, under Christianity?
Sorta, kinda. I definitely was raised like in the church. I definitely was raised like with my mom, like sending us to church. I remember being a kid and really loving to go to church. But like my grandma wasn't with that shit. You know what I'm saying? My grandma was very much like me. My grandma wouldn't step foot inside nobody's church. You know what I'm saying? But she would always teach me certain principles and things like, you know, how to have faith, how to pray. Make sure I seal in everything in the name of Jesus. Like if I ever find myself in a crazy situation, to repeat the 23rd Psalm. And then, like, so that's back to one of those things why you ask, like, you know, why is it Christ for you? Like, you know, I remember a situation, like, I done been kidnapped, tied the fuck up, duct taped, all of that shit. And I remember being in that situation with a gun to my head. And I remember just saying, Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And he making me to lie down in green pastures. You know what I'm saying? Just saying the 23rd Psalm over and over. And, like, I'm sitting here to live, to tell you about that situation today. So that's when I say it's the Christ for me, it's the revealing for me, that's what I mean. You know what I'm saying? Because my mama wasn't really like no avid church goer. She tried her best to keep us going, and my grandma just wasn't for the fake shit with the church house at all, just like I'm not. You know what I'm saying? But it was just about that relationship that she had with her maker, and I think that's what's most important. I think it's about you having a personal relationship with who you deem to be your maker, period.
And was it a certain denomination that when you were raised and you did go to church, was it a certain denomination?
Oh, yeah. It was fire and brimstone Baptist. Everything you did, you was going to hell for it. Like, this interview, I'll be going to hell for it. Like, you feel me? Like, everything you do, you was going to be going to hell for it. And it was just like, nah, that's not the God I serve. I don't know who they serve, but that's not the God I serve. You know what I'm saying? I think every person have to look at it from a realistic standpoint and a realistic scope. And, like, not just because you opening up a Bible and this Bible that was dated 2,000 or 3,000 years ago is telling you a certain thing. You got to put that in a literal sense. We live in 2020 right now, you know what I'm saying? If that's the case, I can't have on these tights. She can't have on them tights. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's so many aspects of that. So I think it's just about, you know, you formulating your own personal relationship. That's the most important part. If you don't have a personal relationship, then what is you really doing out here? Because if you out here and you ain't standing for something, your ass is going to fall for anything that this world going to throw any and everything at you, and you going to go for that shit. You got to be standing firm on something, you know what I'm saying? And God say, like, you got to stand firm so that which stands cannot be shaken, because it's going to get shaken. So you got to know that. But what's shaking ain't going to fall if you standing in your feet planted firmly in the right things. And so for me, that's what my life is all about. And, like, helping other people. Like, I came from that all the way to this, and it's no fraud shit, it's no scam shit, it's no stripping, you know what I'm saying? It's no selling no drugs, it's no none of that. So if I can do it, man, anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. Like, you just got a small portion of my story tonight, you know what I mean? But, like, it's so much more to the equation, and I think that's why I'm like this, because I just want to help as many people as I can go down the right path, especially with social media. It's just like, you don't even got to do that no illegal shit nowadays. You got Instagram and Facebook. We didn't have that shit back then. So it's just like, that's why I'm like this, because if I can help and I can be like, hey, maybe you don't want to go do that because this is what it's going to get you, because this is what happened to me, that's what I'm going to do.
So these 7 figures that you now make and have touched, all legal?
All legal. All legal. No rap cap, tax-paying citizen. You figure deal with me? Like, itemized down like our president. Like, for real. So, like, you know. And so, if I can do that, anybody can do that. Because I'm all about cutting a corner. I'm not going to even hold you. But if I can do that, anybody can do that. And I think that, like, the technology that we have nowadays has just empowered us so much. You can do anything. You can literally say, like, you got a champagne bottle over there, look like it got signatures on it.
Yeah, autographs.
You can say, you know what I'm saying? You can say, you know what? I want to sell champagne bottles with autographs on them. And then you can post that shit on a page and promote the post or get a celebrity to tag it. And the next thing you know, you selling 1,000 of them. And you just made $100,000 like that. You know what I mean? Like, social media has empowered us so much to, like, anything you can think or dream up, you can make it happen. So, like, yeah, illegal for what? You don't got to do it nowadays. You don't. Just use that page.
How long time-wise, after you finish the prison sentence, do you touch the first 7-figure?
Whoo, sheesh.
What approximate time do you think it took?
Oh, it took some time.
5 years?
Some time. Let me see. I got out of prison in 2009, the end of 2009. It took until I touched my first M last year. So what was last year? 2019, so 10 years. That's what it took me. You know what I'm saying? And then I started my business in 2013, I think, or 14 or something like that. So that year I made my first 100,000. And I was just like on a cloud from that, you know? And then every year it would be increasing. Like, I made 100, then I made 2. I think the next year after that I made like 4. Then I was at $500,000. And then last year I touched that M, you know what I mean? And then this year we're already past that. So it's just like, it's attainable. But what my progression shows me is that it is going to take time. So, like, don't think you're going to jump into this and you're just going to be touching M's off the rip. It doesn't work like that. Like, it's going to take time. It's going to take sacrifice. It's going to take hard work, but you definitely can do it. But you're going to have to put the work in. You're going to have to put the time in. You're going to have to put the effort into your craft. You can't half-ass that shit and think you just finna touch it, and you can't jump in it just for the money. That's also what I learned. Like, that money shit and being so motivated by money that you're willing to do almost anything, that's the problem right there. You got to have your boundaries and your lines you cross, and certain things that you say, oh, no, I'm just not simply going to do that. Like, I don't care if you was coming to offer me $1 billion. I'm not doing that. You know what I mean? Because of this and because of who I am. You got to set the stage for that. You know what I mean? Otherwise, it's like, yeah, you crazy if you think this enemy ain't going to just come at you with, like, offers like that all the time. You got to know how to turn stuff down. But you got to know, I think, most importantly, the shit is going to take time. Like, Rome was not built in a day. You're not going to hop on Instagram and have a popping ass following overnight. It's not going to happen for you. Or if you do, it's not going to be a cultivated following that loves you. It's going to be the people page that you go to, you see 1 million hating ass comments in the comments. You know what I mean? Like, if you want something that is going to last, it's going to take you some time. But, like, don't give up. Stick to it. You know what I'm saying? And make sure you're passionate. Because if you're doing what you love, you're not going to be working. You're going to be doing what you love. But if you're just working and trying to hustle, that shit never stops. You're going to always be doing that. So I try to get people to do what do you love to do? What would you do if money was not a factor? If you could do anything in the world and your bills didn't matter, how much money you making didn't matter, what it is, what would you do? That thing that you answer that question with, that's what you need to be doing. And you need to do that shit until it pops. And if you got to work a job over here, a job over there, and be popping that shit off when you get off work, popping that shit on the weekend, that's what you're going to have to do. But in order for you to achieve this kind of lifestyle or achieve greater than that from nothing, from poverty, you crazy if you think that shit finna just fall in your lap and come to you overnight. It don't work like that in no way, shape, or form. Everything that comes to you and falls in your lap overnight, that's the shit that gets you in prison. And that's the shit that gets you in the graveyard. And that's the shit that gets you with your mind lost, a wandering soul out here. So just food for thought that. Definitely.
You completed the probation?
Yeah, I completed it. I did it. Oh, man. That's a story in itself. How did I get through that probation? Listen, I mean, I'm not on papers no more, so I think I'm kind of in the clear. But, like, shit, we was taking trips from when I first got out of prison, you know what I mean? We was going to St. Thomas all the time to go dance, and I wasn't even supposed to be going, but I went to my probation office, and I tried to do it the right way, and she was like, you can't go out of town? I'm like, shit, watch this. All right, ma'am. All right, checked in. All right, come on, let's book this flight, and we was gone, you know what I mean? So, like... Whew, but I completed that probation. I remember I got non-reported. I was on non-report probation. I got violated for a non-report, and I had to go sit in prison for 2 weeks. But that particular time, I had my bread up. So I went and got an attorney first, and I didn't turn myself in until, like, the attorney told me to go turn myself in. I had to sit for like 2 weeks, got back out on non-report. Still didn't have to get piss tests. Like, I didn't get a drug test the whole time I was on papers. Only that first time when I first came home, I passed that particular one. And after that, I did not have to get another piss test. So, like, because if I would have got pissed, like, shit just would have been ugly.
Was that just coincidence or the luck of the draw that you didn't have to do any more tests, or you were informed that you wouldn't have to do those tests?
Nah, they're not gonna tell you that you don't got do no more tests. You're gonna be shitting bricks every time. But if you pass that first initial test it's like a drug and alcohol analysis that you gotta do. So if you go to that and then you pass that first one, you don't gotta take no more after that. But if you fail that first one, you're gonna be pissing the whole time you're on papers, whether it's 10 years, 20 years, whatever your time is. So I passed that first one, and that's why I didn't have to get tested like the rest of the way through. Because if I did, it would have been terrible.
And how many years was probation for you?
6 years. It was 7 do 1. So 1 year in prison, 6 years on felony probation, and then I still had to do a year after I got off this felony probation for that charge, Adele or whatever. So 7 years total.
And when you got the non-report violation, out of the 7 years, chronological history-wise, when was that in the 7 years? Was that a year, 2 years in, 3 years in, 4 years in?
When was that non-report? What year was that? That was like 12 maybe, 2012. So maybe we're 3 years in, something like that. Yeah, maybe like 3 years into the non-report.
And go ahead.
And then I got the violation for non-report, which was the craziest shit in the world to me, but whatever.
And the 2 weeks you do in prison, what prison was it?
It was jail. It was Cobb County Jail.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
So I had to go back for 2 weeks, and I was already on probation for non-report and got violated for non-report. Had to sit in there for 2 weeks, but you know, having that legal representation definitely helped me out a whole bunch.
If you did not have the legal representation, what could have happened?
Oh God, who knows how long I would have been sitting there? Because when you violate probation, there's no bond automatically, and there's no set court date. So I literally could have been sitting there for 4 months again, like waiting for some lawyer to come talk to me, some public defender to come talk to me. Like, you know, the only reason why mine was expedited was because I had that paid legal representation the second time. So, like, yeah, that's what I'm telling you. Like, if anybody is out there, man, you know you're doing some illegal shit, you better pay that lawyer a retainer. I'm trying to tell you. It makes a tremendous difference if you have a great lawyer versus if you got a shitty lawyer or you got a public defender. I'm trying to tell you. Like, a huge difference. Like, these lawyers owe... judges owe lawyers favors, and prosecutors in the state owe lawyers favors and stuff. Like, so it's, especially if you're doing something big time, big money, you need to go get the best, most popular lawyer in that city at the time, because guaranteed it's going to be a lot of favors that lawyer got out, and chances are you probably going to skate on a lot of shit. But if you are out there and you're doing some shit, especially if it's involving a lot of money and you don't have no retainer on a lawyer, you don't have no legal representation, just like flush your life down the trash. You playing with it. That's what you're doing.
And that's what I was going to ask next is how do you find a good attorney versus an S-word attorney? Is it just based on popularity? Is it based on how expensive they are?
Yeah, popularity and how expensive they are. Ask people why you in jail. Like, when you get locked up initially, that's the best place to find the best lawyer at, when you in jail. Like, ask, or if you know other people like that been through the system before, ask them like who's the best attorney. And then nowadays you probably can like Google as well, and then look on Instagram and see who's the best attorney. But you need to pick the best, most popular in whatever city you're in. It matters. It definitely does.
So just for the record, you were informed that you violated probation, and instead of turning yourself in, you go get the legal representation, and then they tell you when to turn yourself in.
Yeah, I found out that I was actually on my way to go get a permit. I got hired at Onyx. I was so happy, and I was about to go get the permit, but here in Atlanta, you can call like and ask, check if you have any warrants. So I gotta walk into a police station, like the natural nature in me. To this day, I'll still do that. And I know I ain't got nothing going on wrong, but it's like, I'm finna check. So I called, and they was like, you got an active warrant with Cobb County. And I'm like, what? So then I'm like, what is it for? And they're like, violation of probation, non-report. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me. So of course, you know, I didn't get the job because I couldn't go get the permit. And I had to call that day. So that same day, I had to hire legal representation and tell them, like, hey, I have a warrant out for my arrest. What should I do? This time I hired this white lady. And I can't remember what her name was, but she was just like, don't make no moves till you wait for me, period. And then I think she went to the first, she set like an arraignment or a court date or something like that. She went to the first one, and she was just like, all right, just wait for my word. When I tell you, you just go ahead and go down there and turn yourself in. So I waited maybe like 2 weeks from the time I hired her, and then she just called me up like one evening, was like, all right, it's time, everything all set. And I was asking her like, all right, how long I'm about to sit? She was probably like 13 days to 2 weeks type of time. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I had time to prepare myself, you know what I'm saying? And then I went down there and I just went and turned myself in. And so I sat for the time she said, and then she came to meet me at court when it was time to go. And that day when I went to court, that's when I got released or whatever.
How much did that cost, the legal representation for that?
I think she was like $2,000 or $2,500 or something like that, yeah.
It was worth it.
It was worth it. It was the best $2,000, $2,500 ever spent, for sure.